Welcome to the Good Life, Great Careers podcast. My name is Caitlin, and I'm the Director of Talent Acquisition for the State of Nebraska. I'm joined today by co-host Brian, our Director of Workforce Training and Development. As we shared with you before, our goal with this podcast is to promote the many career opportunities found within state government. Not only is Nebraska state government one of the largest and most diverse employers in the state when it comes to career opportunities, but it's also an employer worth choosing when considering benefit and engagement opportunities. If you're looking for a new career, check out our website, statejobs.nebraska.gov, where you can view available careers by clicking Find a State Job, or scroll on down to our benefits section to get a glimpse into all we offer. Today, we're excited to bring you the second part of our two-part series on the state of Nebraska's Youth Mentoring Program. One of Governor Pillen's top priorities is to invest in Nebraska's children and help provide them with a better future, which we are proud to be part of with our mentoring program. Eligible State of Nebraska team members that participate in the program can receive paid mentoring leave time, which is a great benefit. The state has partnered with Mentor Nebraska to provide state-approved mentoring programs. We're joined today by Jason Jackson, the Director of the Nebraska Department of Administrative Services, and Melissa Mayo, the Executive Director of Mentor Nebraska. Jason and Melissa, welcome, and thank you for taking time out of your schedules to join us today. We'd love if you'd start off by sharing a little bit more about yourselves, as well as Mentor Nebraska and the state's youth mentoring program.
Again, my name is Melissa Mayo, and I'm the Executive Director of Mentor Nebraska. I've been with the organization a little over 4 years, although most of my time in terms of my work in the nonprofit sector has been in mentoring. So coupled with the 11 years that I was a part of a mentoring organization. So half of my career has been in the field of mentoring. And obviously I care very deeply about that and young people having access to mentoring. I want to take a little bit of time, if we can, just to give a high level overview of who Mentor Nebraska is, what we do, and why we're important kind of in the landscape of our state's mentoring sector. And so Mentor Nebraska is actually a part of a national affiliate network. So we proudly represent Nebraska, and there are other state affiliates similar to ours in surrounding states. And really what we're doing is localizing support for mentoring organizations. We also do a lot of work around advocacy, mentor recruitment, making sure that more folks get involved in mentoring, and also a focus on quality. So we're fortunate to be affiliated with a national organization that is doing all this amazing research and evaluation and, advocating at the national level with our representatives, and we get to do the work at the state level. So we're proud to represent Nebraska and all the great mentoring that's happening here, and we have partners from across the state that we engage with, and that's where we learn about where the needs are in our state in terms of getting more people involved in mentoring, and also what, young people are facing and also the assets that they bring. So excited to talk more about what we're doing in partnership with the state of Nebraska.
Yeah, so I'm Jason Jackson. I'm the Director of the Department of Administrative Services. And within Administrative Services, part of our portfolio is teammate rewards and benefits. And among those rewards and benefits are our teammate mentorship initiative. It's part of our overall teammate engagement program, in which we afford all of our public servants within state government the opportunity to give back in their communities. And this is a really exciting one. It's a really neat way in which we can allow our teammates to give back, and it's a perfect population for that. Our state teammates, everybody working in state government is a public servant, so they have servants' hearts. And they're ideally situated to serve as mentors because they have really diverse backgrounds, really diverse experiences. They've come from all walks of life all over the state. And so it's a really great group of people who are altruistically motivated to engage in their communities and mentor and help the youth of our community that may need the benefit of that extra adult support. And, the governor has a saying that, not every child needs a mentor, but every child deserves a mentor. And so that we can launch this teammate mentorship initiative and support that and support the youth of our community. and afford all our public servants in state government yet one more way they can serve their community. It really differentiates the state.
So I kind of want to explore, Melissa, you mentioned, I think, recruiting. And so that's part. You could go into that a little bit, maybe, some of the efforts when it comes to recruiting mentors and then the challenges that you face with that as well. And then kind of a follow-up on that too, then Jason, if some of the initiatives or maybe incentives that the state is taking to try to recruit some our teammates into a mentorship role for our youth as well.
So I think there's always been a need for folks to step up to the plate to be mentors and be a part of mentoring organizations across our state. I think where we saw the greatest need and where some of those numbers fell off was during the pandemic. So the legislation that was passed was originally passed in 2019. And, a few months later, we were, in the thick of a pandemic. And so, volunteerism in general was impacted because, there were restrictions about, being able to be in spaces together and just other health concerns that really prohibited folks from, really engaging in mentoring and volunteerism in general. And so, we have this opportunity now to partner with the state of Nebraska and with state teammates to come back to the plate. And I think there's no better time than now. Organizations that we work with, so the programs that are at the community level, that are within schools, that have community-based organizations, they have wait lists for young people who are awaiting a mentor. And there's great legwork and thought and intention about matching young people with the perfect mentor. And so oftentimes young people, are on waiting lists until people step forward. And so this is just a great opportunity. And in our role, what we want to do is also make sure that folks know about opportunities to mentor within their community. And part of it is partnering with the state on, different opportunities to let teammates know about where those mentoring opportunities are. We direct them also to our website at mentornebraska.org. And there are the approved mentoring organizations that they can seek out in their communities and learn more about.
Then Jason, did you want to speak to some of the incentives maybe that the state has taken to try to encourage state teammates to have that role as a mentor?
Yeah, absolutely. And Melissa spoke to some legislation that was passed a couple of years ago that really for the first time enabled state teammates to have the flexibility within their work schedules to be able to go off-site, leave the job, and be involved in mentoring. And of course, that's kind of, that's when mentoring happens, is kind of during the workday or during the school day. And so, for the state to really be a partner in that, we needed that flexibility. But what's been really exciting in the past year is under Governor Pillen's leadership, we've now made that a paid benefit. And so our teammates can take an hour of paid leave every week to go to be a mentor in their community. And that's that's really a differentiator from a benefits perspective, is that we're really kind of putting our money where our mouth is in terms of how important this is, and making sure that our teammates don't have any impediments.
Awesome. Melissa, you mentioned that you work with some approved organizations. Mm-hmm. How many organizations do you work with, and do you have a way to help match if a state teammate is interested but they don't know who they want to work with, help them find the opportunity?
Absolutely. So one of the roles that our organization has is to vet mentoring programs. And we know that first and foremost, child safety is the number one issue that we want to make sure that's kind of a given, right? But we also want to make sure that that there's quality behind the mentoring that's happening too. So that mentors are being trained, that there's background screenings happening, and that there's purposeful matching and monitoring once the matches are made. And so that's something that we assist with in terms of vetting those programs. And so we have a network of programs across the state, 60 plus programs, and that also have multiple locations in different communities. And so what we do is we ask teammates to get involved. And if they want to do a search, there's a mentoring connector, which is a tool on our website where you can put in your basic information about who you are, where you live, also some interests in terms of the type of mentoring that you want to be involved in, because there's one-to-one mentoring, there's group mentoring, there's different ways to mentor. And so, and from there, you can get an idea of where those matches come together. So it's basically a search engine for mentoring, and it's an easy way to start doing your homework to see how you would want to get involved and what organizations are in your community.
So with the training and those resources, is there a formal training that goes through? You talked about background checks and some of that training. So like how long is that process of training a mentor before they work with their mentee? Once
some of these other kind of standards or practices are met in terms of background screening, there's an interview and things like that, then there is a formal new mentor training, we like to call it.
Nice.
And it gets you prepared for what to expect, the support that you'll receive from the mentoring organizations, and how to tap in and make sure that you have the support that you need to have a successful match with the young person that you're matched with. So we owe it to both, the volunteers as well as the young people to have that training and orientation before we send them off to have fun and do things in their community or in their school.
And then is there a formal framework around it as far as, so they're matched, they go through the training, and then they begin that relationship with their mentee?
Absolutely.
Is there, is there a standard expectation of so many times a week or a month, times a month? And then is there a formal framework around that?
There is. And we ask that our mentoring organizations have their matches meet approximately 4 hours per month.
Okay.
So sometimes that's happening on a weekly basis. In community-based programs, that could happen over a couple outings throughout the month. So I know that 4 hours is kind of that gold standard, but really it's also about the time and intention of the time that you have with that young person. We also know that, especially in the very beginning of the relationship, it's important to be consistent. And so that's why we put some standards around that time, and so that we get, the results and the relationship that you want to get out of that type of mentoring scenario.
Jason, do you have any idea how many state teammates are currently mentors? And then how has being intentional about a mentoring program had an impact on Nebraska teammates?
Sure. Yeah. So the program's still in its infancy, but it's definitely growing. And the state has been very intentional about making sure that this program has an impact. And I think that intentionality is being felt. So we have a lot of communication activity and a lot of other things that are going around to just really wrap supports around this so that folks can get involved. And we also anticipate some pretty cool recognition in the year to come for those that are making an impact in this area. And again, our teammates and public servants in state government, they're altruistically motivated. They're not doing this for pay or for future recognition, but it just really illustrates the values of the state as an employer and the governor's leadership and the commitment to the success that these steps are being taken, that we can be really intentional about this program.
Melissa, you mentioned that there are some that are on a wait list. Do you have any statistics, one, on that as far as like how many mentors are needed? If there's a shortfall there. And then two, if you could speak to the importance of mentoring. Again, I don't know if you have any statistics that show the benefits for youth when it comes to having a mentor versus those who don't.
Right. And there's obviously a lot of benefit to mentoring and the impact on that young person. And it can be both on the social spectrum, but also the academic spectrum. So, young people who are involved in mentoring generally are more involved in leadership opportunities within their schools. They're less likely to skip a day of class. And oftentimes that has to relate to knowing that there's someone there that is going to be there to meet them if it's a school-based mentoring organization, or who cares that they're there every day if they're a community-based mentor. Also, there's research around young people are less likely to become involved in risky behaviors such as substance use because they have this positive role model in their life. And mind you, it's giving guidance. It's not being prescriptive about what that mentor is doing, but having that positive support network, I think, is really where the assets of young people come alive.
Just as far as you'd mentioned
Oh,
at the
wait
beginning
list.
of the wait
Yeah.
list, if you had numbers as
Yeah.
far as like approximately how
Yeah.
many you need.
Absolutely. So many of the programs do have official wait lists, and there are over 2,500 kids currently on the
Wow.
wait list. Statistically in our state, there's 1 in 3 young people who do not have access to a mentor. So they can't, when the research was done, they were unable to identify someone outside of their family that they could identify as a role model, someone that they could look up to, someone that they could go to when they needed support. And so what we're trying to do is close that mentoring gap. And with the governor having a goal of 10% of state teammates mentoring, that will help chip away at that wait list and at that mentoring gap. So we're really excited about this opportunity to kind of hone in on that and get some of those kids off the waiting list.
I've seen it personally. So I coach adolescent boys and youth baseball, and on my most recent team, there were several kids who came from disadvantaged backgrounds and kind of families that were supportive but kind of low social capital, and they had mentors, and just the connection to that mentor relationship in many ways sustained them and was another source of support. And to see the excitement on these young men's faces when their mentor came to their baseball game, and it was you saw how authentic these relationships are and what a difference it's actually making in my case in these young men's lives. And it was just really cool to see firsthand.
That's awesome.
And I myself have been a mentor, and I know that oftentimes I would leave these mentoring interactions or activities thinking like I was the lucky one, right? I was, just as much as they're having fun, you as adults, you have an excuse to be young again. We're all young at heart, but, learning about what this generation is into in terms of music and social media and what, how you can learn from each other. I think that is really where the beauty lies in mentoring and having a developmental relationship.
We had the opportunity to meet in our first part of the series with current state teammate that's a mentor, Trudy, and her mentee, Keisha. And that really came through, just what you're talking about. They found that common interest. And Trudy mentioned several times just how much she has gained from the mentorship and learned from her mentee. So it's awesome to hear you say that too.
Yeah, it was clear that, and their relationship was fun to watch. And just
awesome.
You could tell they had a great connection. For the two of you, if you're comfortable answering this, but whether formal or informal, have either of you had a mentor in your life that's had a deep impact?
Too many to count.
Yeah.
I absolutely. I walk with a lot of humility because I feel like, where I sit now, I'm the product of a lot of great mentorship at a lot of different seasons in my life. And whether it was, trying to find my way through high school or, my collegiate experience, or being in the military and trying to get through that and being homesick and whatever, and then entering the professional world and trying to figure that out. Like almost at every juncture, I've been extremely fortunate to, have a mentor who I could look up to and identify with and could share some wisdom, and where I could be the beneficiary of their lived experience and not necessarily need to learn everything by virtue of my own mistakes. So absolutely.
So how about you?
I would say definitely mentors more as I've gone through my professional life. I have had people that have invested in me, and also who have, seen my leadership potential when I didn't see it, and gave, you always need that first break of, leading, managing, and having those opportunities. And I think that's where, even though it may not be what we call like a formal mentor through a program, it's really the concept of, being there for someone and believing in someone, and also not necessarily telling them all the answers, but helping them get to the answers. And that's where I think that I've learned the most just as a leader, and have had some amazing female leaders before me that have invested in me and allowed me to be in the place that I am today.
You know what I might also say, Brian, and when we're talking to professionals about their career development and stuff like that, we often encourage people to, hey, identify a mentor and engage with a mentor, and often the impediment to professionals in seeking a mentor is they don't know how to reciprocate, and they anticipate that they're going to be the beneficiary of a kind of a one-sided relationship. The beauty about this program is that mentorship doesn't need to be reciprocal. We can give back by mentoring others and just kind of pay it forward, and bring up the people who are coming behind you, whether in a professional context or in youth mentorship like we're talking about here. Yeah. It's just a really wonderful way to kind of give back.
If our listeners are interested in learning more about Mentor Nebraska or the state's mentoring program, how can they go about that?
You can visit the Mentor Nebraska website, and you will see on our homepage, Become a Mentor. And that's where you can go and find information about the mentoring organizations that are in your community. I will say this, you won't regret getting involved. I think that sometimes there's maybe some initial hesitation around, maybe you don't have kids, maybe you don't, not sure if you connect with this generation now. I will say that you will, and you will find those common connections, and even the differences between you and the young person that you're matched with will also bring you together, because I think that's where that shared learning happens, and the curiosity of learning something new. So if you have any hesitations, just know that also mentoring organizations that you get involved with will support you. So if something doesn't go quite right, or if you're having communication problems, or your mentee isn't calling or texting you back, you always have someone to go to. So I think that is, why it's so important to vet quality mentoring programs, because you need to have that there, because we know that young people that are a part of mentoring relationships that close early or prematurely have negative effects on how they feel about supportive adults, whether they would ever seek out a mentor again. So we want to make sure that we set up everything for success.
Ready for the rapid fire questions? All right. When you were younger, what was the first career you dreamed of having? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a veterinarian because I loved animals.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think my very first is like kindergarten age. I was going to be an astronaut.
Okay.
But shortly after that, I was going to be a naval officer. I had pretty much had my eyes set on being a naval officer from a very young age.
We talked a little bit about when you were young, if you had a mentor, but did you have a childhood hero? Was there somebody you wanted, that you really looked up to, or that you wanted to be?
For me, it was always athletes.
Yeah.
So I was a big sports fan when I was younger, and I was a 49ers fan and a San Francisco Giants fan. And so I really identified with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and Will Clark back in that day for the San Francisco Giants. So yeah, I always looked up to athletes and just kind of seeing, success at the absolute pinnacle of human achievement. And I just kind of identified with that and thought that was really neat.
How about you, Melissa?
Oh, wow. Well, I'll have to say, much like Jason, I think growing up, especially in a family of 6 with 3 siblings, sports were everything to us, and we all had kind of our thing. My thing was basketball. So I had in my pink room, I had the Lakers lineup posters all over
okay.
at that time. So, the greats, Magic Johnson and crew.
Showtime.
So it was, so we all had our thing. My thing was basketball, and I still, I love the Huskers, but I still love basketball more.
Shifting gears a little bit, favorite TV show or movie that you have a go-to?
Favorite Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, that's a great one.
Choice.
Yeah, that one's great.
Last of the Mohicans.
Any final advice that either of you would give for anyone looking to begin a mentor relationship?
Just do it. Take the leap. You'll have a blast, and you'll be supported. And it'll probably surpass your expectations of what you thought before going into the experience. So, yeah, I think that we need folks to be a part of the change, and you can do that through mentoring.
Great advice.
I was literally just going to say, just jump in.
Yeah.
And so similar to Melissa, and I learned even just sitting next to Melissa this afternoon, because it's whatever is intimidating you about it, it needn't, because between the state and the organizations, like everybody is coming alongside to ensure that everybody is supported as possible. And so nobody should feel inhibited or like they can't be successful doing it or like there's any barriers to entry. Just jump in and you'll be supported in the process.
Great advice. Thank you both. Jason, Melissa, appreciate your time coming in, talking about this, helping us and our listeners learn more about Mentor Nebraska and the Youth Mentoring Initiative here in part of state government. For our listeners, if you want to check out our great career opportunities and benefit offerings, go to statejobs.nebraska.gov and click on Find a State Job link. While you're there, you can also check out our links to our Nebraska State Job social media channels, including Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We would love to have you follow us and learn more about the great careers that we have to offer you. There's also a lot of great content on the Nebraska Department of Administrative Services YouTube channel, including this podcast and our previous podcasts. So make sure to search for us and hit that subscribe button, and so you'll be notified of future podcast episodes when they drop. Once again, on behalf of our guests, Jason and Melissa, my co-host Caitlin, and myself, I want to thank all of you for tuning in today and learning more about the great careers here in the